हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Everybody together. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. कृष्ण महामंत्र की ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Welcome all of you. I'll just get the PowerPoint for you in a minute. So in the previous class, we were discussing a very important session on the self-realized man. How does he speak? How does he walk? So for a couple of minutes, I'm going to quickly browse through the slides which I showed you so that we recapitulate what we saw, and then we proceed further. Okay? Now you all can see this Sthita Prajna, self-realized man, how he. So I remember clearly where we left, I will show you. So we recited this verse. The symptoms, Arjuna is asking, how do you recognize a self-realized person? What are his symptoms? His language, how does he sit, how does he walk? And I explained to you, if you remember. How does he reveal his position? A sickly man or a wealthy man, they all reveal their position by certain symptoms. Similarly, how do you detect someone who is self-realized? And how does he respond to the action of others? That is speech. And what is his mindset when his senses are withdrawn from sense objects? How is he situated? Is he applying great pressure to control his senses? Or he is able to control his mind and senses but at ease by developing a higher taste in Krishna consciousness? That is sit. And then walking, what does he do with the senses? Does he deny the senses? Does he get into a self-denial mode? Or does he engage his senses in this world? So these are the four questions. What are his symptoms? How does he speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? Four questions, which was very beautifully answered by Krishna. So this is the main thing it was told. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan. He gives up all desires arising from mental speculation. Mind always keeps speculating. Let me try becoming happy by getting this. If I get a car, I'll be happy. If I get a house, I'll be happy. Everybody has his own idea of how to become happy. And there are people who not only desire such normal things, but they desire sinful things also for becoming happy. So a self-realized man stands different. His thought process and symptoms are said, when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Finding satisfaction in self alone means what? You should be doing the activities of the self. You see, there are three types of selves. One is your gross bodily self, which you see in the mirror. Then there is subtle bodily self, which is mind, intelligence, ego, that they form a linga sharir or a sukshma sharir or a subtle body, we call it. That is a second self or inner self. And that is the covering one. And then innermost self is the soul, Atma. Now, what are the activities of our gross body? For example, eating, sleeping, mating, defending ourselves, all these things. And when bodily diseases come, we cure the diseases. So the bodily senses are actually used for giving shape to the desires stored in the mind. So these are the activities of the body. And the body is like simply a dress over the soul. The body is not a person. Just like, for example, my shirt you see now. See, this is having two hands now. Why there are two hands in the shirt? Because I, the soul, I have two hands. Therefore, this shirt also has two hands, isn't it? Now, When I remove the shirt and put in a hanger, it looks like two hands. It doesn't have any hand. It cannot function by itself, this kurta, isn't it? Similarly, our body is simply like this kurta over the soul. If the soul leaves the body, then the body is termed dead. And it is sent to the graveyard to be burned. So therefore, the superficial self is the body. And inside the body is a subtle body. Inside that is a soul. Prabhupada gives another very graphic example. You take a coconut, big coconut, green coconut. There are fibers. Inside the fiber, there's a shell. Inside the shell, there is white coconut. And inside the coconut, there is water. So out of these four things, which are edible in this coconut structure, which are the edible things? Yeah?
The white coconut.
Yeah, white coconut and the coconut water. Isn't it? And the shell and the fiber, you feed it into the fire. That's all. You use it as a fuel. Similarly, in our body, the gross body and subtle body are like the fiber and the shell. They are fed, ultimately they are burned away. But the soul and the soul's love for God. So soul is like the coconut. Soul's love for God is like the coconut water. These two are the most important things. But the whole world is forgetting these two things, and they are simply acting for the pleasure of the gross body or the subtle mind. They are acting for the gross body. How? By eating nice type of foodstuffs, by mating, by partying, and decorating the body with so many type of costumes and costly outfits and everything. How many type of shoes, how many type of belts, how many type of watches, how many type of hairstyles. It's all for the gross body. And for the subtle body, they are singing some cinema songs or Bollywood actors, actresses. People are watching so many movies. Or there are many people who like politics, people who like sports, people who like movies. In this way, the minds are preoccupied with material vibrations. And also the minds are occupied with lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, revengeful attitude, and envy, and all those things, you see. So people are putrefying the mind also like that. So the mind's nature is accept and reject. Mind's nature is to store the previous experiences. And the mind's nature is to hold the desires and try to give shape to those desires. These are all some of the activities of the mind. Sankalpa, vikalpa. Accepting what I like and rejecting what I don't like. This is the nature of the mind. Mind always wants pleasurable things which are not good for us. And mind doesn't want to accept things which are good for us, which will do good for us in the long run. Like, for example, chanting Hare Krishna, following four regulative principles. Mind doesn't want that. Mind says, oh, no, I'm lazy for it. But when it comes to eating all kinds of foods, many people are eating junk foods, which is not good for them, but still they eat. Because the mind, they only consider the pleasure. In this way, the bodily activities, the mental activities, and then the soul's activities. And what is the activity of the soul? That is what is being discussed here. Self-realized person means, how does his soul act? So that is the real self. So soul can be called as the real self. The body and the mind can be called as superficial selves. And the gross body can be visibly seen, which is finished away at the time of death. It is either put in a coffin or it is burned in fire. Parsi people actually throw it in the silent tower, they call it, where they make it a food for the eagles. That's the destination of the gross body. Krimi vid bhasma sangidam. Either ashes or turns into worms, or it is put to this thing. That's the body, gross body. And the soul covered by the subtle body, it comes out, goes to the next body. Because the mind is the one which is storehouse of desires. That's where you store your experiences, desires. Accordingly, you will be given one more body where you can give shape to those desires, like that. So in this way, self-realized person, when we are talking about the soul. Here you can see when his mind is thus purified, because his mind has become purified now. There are no more dirty things in his mind. Then he finds satisfaction in the activities of soul towards God. Then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Like here you can see he is worshipping Krishna. He is smiling very cheerfully, blissfully, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Because he has become purified. One who is not purified is indulging in all dirty activities. So we discussed all these things last time. Simply shutting the senses or self-denial is not enough. You have to give positive engagement. Then Navavidha Bhakti, I told you. Ambarish Maharaj engaged all his senses in Lord's service. And this way one can become a realized soul by how can we find satisfaction in self alone? By realizing our eternal servitorship to Krishna. And he has no sense desires from petty materialism. So like beautiful form of Krishna, surrounded by the cows, Radha and Krishna, internal energy. Radharani is called internal energy, and the material energy is called external energy. So in this way, we take shelter of the Lord by chanting and reading Bhagavad Gita. We become truly spiritually happy. Then one becomes satisfied. One who is satisfied in these higher activities of service to Acharya, service to Krishna, then he is not pulled by the mind towards the lower activities. By higher taste, one is able to go up. Then we were discussing about all these things. Many of you nicely understood this point last time. Piety versus impiety. We discussed all these things. And then we told about karma, vikarma, akarma. Yeah. So, and then, I will tell you a very easy way to remember this. How you can remember these three. Just a minute, I will just. So, last time, a nice question answers we had discussed about this. See here, three types of karma I told you, right? See, karma, vikarma. Three things we discussed last time, isn't it? So, this is called bias. So we can remember like this. So V for vicious, A for absolute truth, isn't it? And karma is pious activity, you can remember. So if you want to take odd man out, so these two you can put in, say, one color. And this you can put in another color. Why? Can any of you say why? Why am I putting them in this type of color combination?
Yeah, so I believe we should try to, include like more akarma, right? Like more positives than negatives with our life as we engage in any actions in our life.
Yeah. So this is related to soul. And this is related to material body. These are dealing with material body. Correct, no? These are related to the material body. Is it clear to everybody? Last time, very nice discussions came on this point. Is it clear to all? This one?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. So we want to do, actually, if we do karma, we go to heaven and come back. If we do weak karma, we go to hell and come back. But if we do ye karma, we go beyond this universe, back home, back to Godhead. Never to come again. Lord Krishna promises that. He says that once you return to me, Taktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Sojana, you will come back to me, he says. Therefore, the person who is self-realized person, he engages in relation to absolute truth. That he does that a karma, absolute truth karma. That he does. That is his speciality. So, okay. Then let's go back to our PPT. So this you also remember. I showed you all this spiritual activities, different type of spiritual activities. A karma. Arjuna, you can even fight for Krishna like Arjuna was fighting. You can cook for Krishna. Many things you can do. Here you see they are distributing books for Krishna. Everything, all connected to absolute truth. And we don't take any salary for this. We do it as a seva, service, a voluntary service. Like, see, these ladies are all making garland. These ladies are serving prasad, isn't it? Her mata is, she is doing worship of the deities of Radha Krishna. So how wonderful this path is. The path of Bhakti Yogis, you have n number of activities you can do by which, in relation to Lord, you do, they are all purifying. Nothing is done for any selfish motivation. You see, they're going on Harinam Sankirtan. They're cooking for Krishna, painting for Krishna, gardening for Krishna, giving class for Krishna, doing Sankirtan, Sankirtan Mela for Krishna. Here, computer work for Krishna, printing magazines for Krishna, Rath Yatra for Krishna. All are absolute activities. So these are all like austerity, sacrifice, knowledge. So by this we can attain the supreme destination. No birth, no old age, disease, death. We completed all this in last time. ABCD, right? Association, books, chanting, diet, and engagement. These are so precise. You see how wonderful it is. We can just stick to these activities all our life, and our lives will become perfect. Then we ascend up, acceptance of spiritual master, study of the Vedas, austerity, sense control, and spiritual knowledge. And then this is a beautiful verse. Krishna says, for those who live a life like that, Mamapetya punarjanma dukkhalema shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramam gataha. Please read the translation, please, one of you.
After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Bhagavad Gita 8:15.
Yeah. He's saying once they attain Krishna in the spiritual world, they never come back to the material world. Like that he's telling Arjuna. So the picture shows the devotee is going from the black material world to the bright spiritual world, to meet Radha and Krishna, to live a eternal life of everlasting bliss. And I last time showed you these things also. Told you take a snapshot, isn't it? And then I showed you all these different things. Anybody remember the 3 words I used for this? Anybody remember the 3 words? Anybody remember the 3 words I used for accepting anything in this world? Please don't tell that. You can just raise the hand, then I will ask you. 3 words I used for accepting our quota regarding that. Anybody remembers? Okay, I'll give you a clue. Sanctioned, that is one of the things. And there are 2 more things similar to that. Anybody remembers? Okay, sanctioned, sanctified, and third one is regulated. Now, so all those pictures I showed you, they were all quota, which means everybody in this world is allowed to eat vegetarian food, that is sanctioned. And when it is offered to Krishna, it is called prasadam, that is sanctified. And eating it in moderate proportion, that is regulated. Like that, everything. One wants to marry, yes, marriage is allowed in Bhagavad Gita. One may marry, that is sanctioned. And marrying and worshipping the Lord, both husband and wife together, that is sanctified. And not living extravagantly, wasting time, whereas husband and wife together performing devotion service, maximize Krishna time, minimize Maya time, we call it. Then it is a regulated family, very nice regulated. So like this, all these different things I told you. Yes, you can possess land, but you should not loot another person's land. Everybody is allowed to live in this world, but one should not exploit other living beings. So those kind of things we showed. So now we proceed further. See, to be satisfied in the self alone, here it's mentioned, one should know of Lord's love for us and our relationship with Him. Please read these 3 statements, very important.
Freedom by connecting our activities to Krishna and offering our fruits to Krishna. his compassionate glance upon his devotees, personal interest. Krishna takes personal interest in his devotees' life.
Yeah. These three I have shown are very, very special. I'll show you one slide on each of this. See, how do you attain freedom? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Moksha se karma bandhanaihi. Because my devotees are freed from all the bondage to work and its result. Because they're working for me. When you work for the government, then the government takes the onus of the responsibility of that. So Krishna says, Moksha se karma bandhanaihi. Because they are doing all karmas for me, that becomes a karma. I remove them from all the reactions. More than that, one will become liberated, he says, vimukto. And more than that, one will come to Krishna, mamu peshyasi. Three things Krishna is saying. You become free from karma bandhana, you attain liberation, ultimately you enter the spiritual world, he says. In this way, that happened to Dhruva. Initially, Dhruva had a karma bandhan, bondage, a fight with his stepmother. Then after he saw Lord Vishnu in the forest, he became a liberated soul. Then later on, with his own mother, he went back home, back to Godhead in a Vaikuntha plane. So this is the beauty of working for Krishna. And then second point is compassionate glance upon his devotees. Please read it.
Lord explains how his devotees, whom he favors, are in a different category than ordinary people. Generally, one who commits a sin is considered fallen in society, but the Lord's devotees are to be considered saintly, even if they are fallen by ordinary standards. Krishna forgives and amends by bhakti yoga mistakes and sins committed by his repentant devotee. Sinful or low-born persons also can attain the supreme destination. Understanding the truth about Krishna and his devotees, one should absorb himself in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. Here, Krishna's compassionate glance becomes evident in these sentences. You will see, in this world, if somebody commits sin, people will criticize him very heavily. Hey, you're a religious person. How did you fall prey to this sin? You are an animal. You are good for nothing, and things like that. But Lord has a compassionate glance upon even such devotees who are endeavoring to advance in the path of spiritual life, but who may sometimes accidentally slip from that position. For example, anybody who takes to Krishna consciousness and wants to progress in spiritual life, they are tested by Maya Devi. Maya in varieties of forms. For example, there are going to be friends who will discourage you from practice. So sometimes one may get carried away by the friend's demotivation. And then 3-4 months, one doesn't chant at all. And then afterwards, he gets kicks from material energy, suffers. Then one remembers Krishna, alas, I was such a happy devotee before. Now I have forgotten my Lord. He goes running to the temple and he falls at the feet of the Lord and begs, please forgive me. I want to come again. I want to become a devotee. So Lord is such a wonderful person. He never closes the doors of his spiritual abode. He's always available for the devotee. He says, most welcome. You come back again. Lord is willing to accept. Even for the demons, he doesn't close the doors of the spiritual world. He always keeps hope that all living beings one day will come back to me. He's always in a welcoming mode. So that is his nature. Sometimes the devotee becomes proud and Lord clears the pride of the devotee. How? By arranging a situation where the pride of the devotee will be smashed. Like you can see, Indra once became very proud. Krishna stopped the sacrifices that were due to him, meant for him. And Indra became wild. He showered heavy rain shower in Vrindavan. And Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill and thoroughly humiliated him by not letting him harm the residents of Braja. Indra became all the more angry. He showered thunderbolts and many things he did. He couldn't do anything. At last, his pride was shattered to powder. Then he came in front of Krishna, fell at his feet and sought forgiveness and became reformed. So Lord cannot tolerate pride in the heart of the devotees. Indra was thinking, my Lord, I tried to kill the Lord's devotees by heavy rain shower. One raindrop was like one elephant. But the Lord didn't mind it. Why? Because when he lifted the Govardhan hill, he gave the shelter to all the residents of Braja. 7 days, 7 nights, they were all together. He thought by Indra's naughty behavior, I got a chance to exchange love with all my devotees of Vrindavan. So Lord took it very positively. After 1 week, when Indra came and fell at his feet, Indra was forgiven. Lord said, okay, Indra, you're forgiven. And Indra took off his helmet and kept on the ground and said, my Lord, now I resign from my post. Lord said, no, you don't have to give up the post. You stay in the post as Indra, but you give up your pride, he told him. So Lord forgave him. Lord forgave Indra, Lord forgave Brahma. In this way, Lord is willing to forgive a devotee who is repentant, who is remorseful, one who weeps. So Lord is always kind. Abhiche Chudaracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavyaha samyak vavasito hisaha kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat chantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanehi name bhakta pranashyati. So these two verses say that even if my devotee performs some abominable activity sometimes, by slip, not by deliberate contemplation, by the pressure of the material energy, that devotee very soon will become repentant, loudly cry, and come back to my lotus feet, begging for forgiveness. And the devotee will say, my Lord, you can punish me as you wish. I am a hypocrite. I am a sinful wretch. I am yours. At any cost, I don't want to leave your lotus feet. Please take care of me and keep me with you. Like that, when a devotee comes, Lord considers the devotee like his own child. He cleanses it. Therefore, it's called Bhakta Vatsala. Bhakta Vatsala means like a mother cow. With licking the body of the calf, it cleanses all the impurities in the body of the calf. So it's called as Vatsa. Bhakta Vatsala. Lord also cleanses the impurities in the heart of the devotee and makes them purer. And the relationship between Lord and devotee becomes tighter by that. So in this way, that is this part about the compassionate glance of the Lord. This is not to say that devotee can do any kind of nonsense and then say that Lord will forgive me. That will come under the seventh offense we say in chanting. That is called as Namno Baladasi Papa Buddhi, which means deliberately one should not commit sin. But if one slips due to the power of mental energies occasionally and one seeks repentance from the Lord, Lord will forgive. So that is one of Krishna's kindness. That we should not exploit his kindness. See, now I didn't put the sound. Just 1 minute, I'll show you. See, what is this pastime? Anybody knows? Read the.
Yeah, this was the liberation. This story is told in one of our Purans, right?
Correct.
He's stuck
Bhagavad
in the water with the mud, and then he offers the lotus feet to the god, and then God liberates him in the end. I forgot the name.
His name is Gajendra. Yeah, you are right.
Gajendra, yes, Gajendra. Yes, Gajendra.
Correct. Gajendra Moksha prayers. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this elephant was caught by the crocodile in the leg when he went into the lake. And then he was weeping. He was a very mighty elephant. He was the king of the whole jungle, actually. But on that day, he realized, I have no power in the water. Then he cried out, and the previous life, this elephant had performed some special things. You know who he was? He was actually in South India. There is a place called Kutralam. He was a Pandya Raja, king. After the king retired from his kingly duties, when he became a retired man, like 60 years or so, he went to the forest, to a mountainous area and a jungle area. He was living in the cave and doing devotional service. The one problem with that king was he was a little inattentive in receiving saintly people. So when Agastya Muni with disciples came, he was careless. Due to the failure in proper etiquettes, showing proper etiquettes, the sage caused him to become a dull animal. He went on to become an elephant in the next life. But whatever he had studied, during, whatever shlokas, verses he had memorized, they all came to his help in the next life as Gajendra. So, in this way, he uttered those prayers, Narayana Akila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. So now you can read this one. Personal interest Krishna takes?
Personal interest. Krishna takes personal interest in his devotee's life.
Correct. Yeah.
This is the most confidential knowledge. This intimate relationship is the essential understanding presented in the Gita. Understanding it naturally leads one to take to the path of Krishna consciousness.
The devotee feels very happy. Oh, Lord personally came to deliver Gajendra because he called his name. Similarly, Ajamila called Narayana. And immediately Lord appeared. Lord sent his Vishnudutta messengers. That means Lord takes personal interest in his devotee's life. So when one hears like Draupadi, there was one Draupadi who cried loudly for help, and Krishna supplied her unlimited saree. So in this way, devotee is touched in the heart by Lord's behavior. So I showed you three things. These are three things I showed you. Freedom happens by connecting our activities to Krishna. Vimukto mamu pashyasi, that one. Second one is compassionate glance upon the devotees, by which he forgives the devotees' mistakes, occasionally unknowingly committed. Then he takes personal interest, like he took personal interest in the case of Draupadi or Ajamila or like Gajendra. So he takes personal interest. So these three, when we know these things, our love for the Lord will increase and our relationship with the Lord becomes thicker and tighter and purer. And then we can be satisfied in the activities of the self. Of performing all those 9 activities I told you, hearing about Krishna, chanting his holy names and holy fame, remembering the Lord, surrendering the mood of a servant, and all those things are very easy. If you know these 3 things, then only you can be satisfied in the self. Okay, that was about his symptoms. Now, second question is, how does he speak? How does he speak means, we'll recite this sloka. Dukkeshvanudignamanaha sukheshu vigataspruhaha vitaraga bhaya krodaha stitadhir muniruchyate. Please read the translation, please. One of you.
One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind.
Yeah. So, Lord Krishna is telling here that a person should be steady in the mind. What is that steadiness? Sometimes we will get happiness, sometimes distress. And one should not become attached to happiness, because today one may be happy, tomorrow one may not be. Similarly, sometimes there are miseries, like recently in IIT Madras, just I think 15-20 days ago, they were saying a couple of boys committed suicide in IIT Chennai. IIT is a premier institute in India. So why these boys are committing suicide? Because, that boy left a WhatsApp, message saying that, I am not good enough. That's all he wrote. Therefore, I am ending my life. That goes to show the inferiority complex. Actually, to get into IIT is also not very easy. It's a premier college like MIT and Harvard in America. So this boy got a good, educational offer. But some inferiority complex, maybe comparing with himself with the friends or something. It's so pathetic it is that the students of such premier institutes, although they may have big head, they may be expert in computer science and they can do coding and all that, but when it comes to real life, they're committing suicide like this. It's happening a lot actually. In 2019 in Hyderabad IIT, three fellows committed suicide, and this year a couple of them from IIT Chennai. So I'm going to meet the senior people. Actually, I'm thinking of meeting the director or the next people actually to do some program. We feel very sorry when we hear these things, because actually that's because there is no spiritual knowledge. Prabhupada says in Gita, Jnana Chakshush versus Mudha. 2 names are used. A Mudha does not know the difference between body and soul. Jnana Chakshush means he knows soul is more important than the body. Imagine if there is a car accident. What is the first question you will ask? Somebody who was going in a Benz car. Mercedes Benz car and faced a terrible accident on hitting a tree or something. What is the first question you will ask? Yeah. Your friend was going in the car, in the Mercedes-Benz. There was an accident. What is the first question you will ask? Yeah?
Are you okay?
Yeah, you will check whether your friend, is he alive or dead? That's the first thing you will check.
Yes.
If somebody tells you, yes, he is alive, the next question you will ask is, how much damage happened to the body? Did he break his head, break his hand, break his leg? You will ask that. And if somebody says, no, not even a scratch, it was a small accident, he is perfectly fine. Then you will ask about the car. Okay, what happened to the car? The car got smashed, or how is it? We are more interested in the driver than the car. Similarly, the soul is of greater interest than the body, because body is simply a vehicle for the soul. The soul has two equipments, the mind and the body. The mind is for storing desires, and the body is for executing the desires. These two are both material, and they both are secondary, not as important as the soul itself. But these foolish boys are committing suicide because they are thinking that they are themselves the body only, material body. They don't know the difference between body and soul, duties of the soul, all they don't know. Therefore, he says, don't be disturbed. In the material world, both are there. So these things I have shown more elaborately in the next slide. We will see them. Yeah. Okay, now we will see this slide. It's very important. It is. See, here one specific word Prabhupada uses here. Sthita Dhir Muni. See, definition of Sthita Dhir Muni, 2.56. Is a sage of steady mind. Sthita means fixed up. He is always in Krishna consciousness. He has exhausted all the business of creative speculation with the mind. Yeah. So he understands that Lord Vasudeva is everything. And other people are called as Muni, one who agitates their mind. Whereas Sthitadhir Muni is a devotee. For example, you all know Narada. Narada is also called as Narada Muni, we call him. So Narada Muni is a Sthitadhir Muni. Other Munis who are still searching after God, they don't know, they want to figure out what God is. They are all ordinary Munis. But Sthitadhir Muni means one who has come to the right conclusion. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Yes, Yash, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, hey, so I think, so we were talking about this, right, the suicide and everything. I think that doesn't really solve the permanent problem, right? Because I think even when you take the next birth, you have to start off where you left off at. Is that the correct assumption?
Not only that, yeah, you are right, Yash, you are right. In fact, when a person, for example, if a boy was destined to live about 70 years and he committed suicide in the age of 20, then the balance 50 years, he will not be awarded a human body, but he will have to roam as a ghost. A ghost means a soul which is covered by subtle body, but it doesn't have a gross body. It's a very painful situation. Why? Because you have the subtle body, my mind is storing all the desires. I want this, I want that, I want this, but you don't have a gross body to execute those desires. How painful it will be, just see. For example, imagine one of you got sick, viral fever. You have to be inside the closed doors for 3 days. How boring it is, isn't it? You can't do, doctor says, don't work in the computer, don't talk on the phone, and don't eat normal food. Just stay in the room within 4 walls. And your body is burning, tongue is bitter. You are not comfortable. 3 days trapped in a room. But imagine the ghosts actually have to spend the balance number of years, hovering in the subtle body. That's why they occupy somebody's body sometimes. If they want to eat some nice foods and all, they will occupy somebody's body and try to consume. That's what they will do. So, and what you have said is very correct. The suicide doesn't solve the problem. It actually aggravates the problem even more. Therefore, one should learn to cultivate spiritual knowledge and practice spiritual life and become free from the menace of the mind. And then by purifying the mind, then in this world also you can lead a happy life, in the next world also.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for answering. I think I learned, I did not knew about this ghost portion of the of what happens, so thank you. And I have one more question, which is,
go ahead. Yeah.
Let's say, even if you're engaged in this consciousness, right? And have there been a situation where a person is not able to achieve moksha or liberation?
Yeah.
What happens? Let's say you take a next birth. Do you start off from where you left off at, or
You start off from where you left off. If you see, basically, our subtle body, the mind. I'll give you a simple example. See, when the soul comes to this world, he is pure. Huh? But when like when rainwater touches the ground, it becomes muddy. Similarly, when the soul comes to the world, he is very divine, pure, but he becomes covered by the mind which has the impurity. Huh? So now the mind which is impure has to be purified. Just like if somebody comes with a stinking socks into your room, and everybody will plug the nose and say, hey, nasty fellow, get out, they will say. But the man is a good man, but his socks are stinking. So, but he can actually go out, remove the socks, wash his feet and come with barefoot. Or he can wash the socks completely, dry it and wear it fresh and come. Again, people won't mind it, isn't it? Similarly, our good news for all of us is our impure mind is washable. It's cleanable. What is the process for it? The chanting of the holy name. Like bhaktas do chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama. We do that. Jnanis, they do vimarshanam. Nitya, anitya, vastu, vivekam. They try to understand what is temporary, what is permanent. They have to do that analysis of matter versus spirit. Aham brahmasmi. They repeatedly reinforce that feeling. I am not the body, I am the spirit soul. That's one thing they do. And iha amutra bhoga bhogadi viragam, it is said. What they do is, iha means the material world, in the earthly planet, and amutra means in the heavenly planets. There are many bhoga, enjoyable tidings, but they have to develop vairagya for it. They have to keep away from them. They have to deny them. So these kind of things are all jnanis have to do, but bhaktas have an easy way. Bhaktas just chant Hare Krishna. And you can purify the mind, because it is like taking a wet cloth and wiping a dusty mirror. When you wipe a dusty mirror, it becomes clean. So that's how we cleanse the mind. So after we cleanse the mind, then where do now jnanis, Buddhists, Jains, they all want to go from negative axis to 0-0, which you use the word moksha. They want it. And moksha means liberation from suffering of cycle of birth and death. That is called as moksha, we call it. But that's not all. Because if somebody is going from negative axis to 0-0, where they get shanti, peace. Krishna says that's not the ultimate. Beyond that 0-0 is positive axis, where the spiritual world, where the Lord is personally present as Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan, Radha Krishna, in those forms. And Lord is greeting the devotee who is returning back, and he has innumerable devotees there. They are all exchanging loving relationship with him, like what we read in Mahabharata, Ramayana, or what we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. So that is considered the fountainhead of all liberties, ultimate freedom, entering the spiritual world. Therefore, Lord Krishna gives example in the Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter. There is a tree on the bank of a pond, say mango tree. In the water, it is reflected upside down. In the water also, you see mango. There is also a real mango in the original tree. But when you dive in the water to get the mango, you won't get it. Similarly, in this world, everybody is struggling for happiness, but happiness in view, but out of experience. They don't get. That's because these are reflection mangoes. If you want real happiness, we have to enter the spiritual world. So that we call as real mukti. Real mukti means muktir hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. In your real swarupa, as a bhakta, as a servant of Krishna, you have to enter the spiritual world. That is ultimate mukti. But going to 0-0 is only relief from the pangs of the cycle of birth and death. For example, say now I call Yash and I pinch all over your face. You may say, oh, it's painful, please leave me. Now I tell Yash, I leave you. I will not pinch you. I'm not giving you happiness. I'm only giving you relief. Whereas if I call Yash and I'll give you a vessel with gulab jamuns, 40 gulab jamuns as for eating with a spoon I give you. You will say, wow, thank you, Prabhu. I am very grateful to you. So that is, I am giving you happiness. So going from negative axis to 0-0 is like not pinching a person. Relief from the suffering of cycle of birth and death. Whereas giving gulab jamuns is like going from 0-0 to positive axis. So then bhakti, that's what is bhakti yoga. How is bhakti yoga superior to jnana, karma, jnana, yoga and all? Karma yoga relieves you of some sufferings. You go gradually towards up. Whereas jnana yogi gets moksha up to the 0-0. All this, Buddhists, jnanis, impersonalists, Jains, they all go to almost the same destination like 0, 0. But bhaktas connect with the Lord as a intimate devotee. I will give a very simple example. I'll give you. The government, for example, government of a country, the prime minister in the parliament, the prime minister at home. Three examples you take. So government of any country is like impersonal absolute. And prime minister in the parliament is a reverential relationship. And prime minister at home is a spontaneous and intimate relationship with God. So we can choose either of the three. If you go to 0, 0, it's like government. Government is impersonal, like that. And entering into relationship with God either formally or intimately. That is like going to Vaikuntha and Goloka, like that. Now, how do you feel, Ash? Is it more clear now?
Yes.
Yeah. And as you ask the question now, say, for example, socks cleaning example I gave you. Say, if I cleanse the socks 20% now, somebody came to talk to me, then I left it. I didn't clean it. Then again, I start cleansing it, it will start from 21%, correct, no?
Correct. Yeah.
Then I cleaned it 60%. And then I subsequently will start from 61%, like that. So, but one good news for the bhakta is, Krishna says that if you become a devotee, and say you have only cleansed your mind 20%, but you still have any material desires. You have a strong desire to enjoy comforts, luxuries. There is a strong attraction for, wealth and women, and that such kind of attractions are there in the living beings. Then Krishna says, then at the time of death, because of those material desires you carry in the mind, you will be taken to the heaven, where in heaven you will be allowed to enjoy for long duration of lives, like 10,000 years, 20,000 years. After enjoying, all your desires get exhausted. Then you will be reborn again in the earth, either in the family of Brahmins or in the family of aristocratic Vaishyas, like Agarwal, Goyal, such kinds of families. You can see Bansal, Marwadis. In India, for example. Similarly, in America also there are people who are rich class of people, businessmen, industrialists. Such families, one is born. Or one is born in a Brahmin family, who is a pious family, who is a priestly class family. Those who are actually always aligned with God and pure life. So how wonderful Krishna is, you can see. Even if a devotee possesses material desires, Krishna takes him to heaven. After that, he gives nice birth where he can continue one's Krishna consciousness. So wherever I left, whatever percentage I finished, balance, I will continue there. When I finish 100%, I go back home, back to Godhead. Yeah. Is that clear now?
Yes. That is absolutely clear. Thank you.
Thank you. These things will come as we proceed in the future chapters. But I thought if we give this background now, it will be very clear for everybody. Yeah. So, therefore, here he is saying about, a devotee, Sthita Muni means is a stage of steady mind, always in Krishna consciousness. He does not do any speculation. He understands Vasudeva is everything, Lord Krishna is everything. And as ordinary Muni agitates the mind. They have different angles of vision. Every Muni has a different idea. But Sthita Muni is a devotee of the Lord who has come to the right conclusion. After Vedasya Sarvair, Ahameva Vedyo. After knowing all the Vedas, I have to come to Krishna. That I understood. See, the last C point is very important. Can you read it, please? One of you.
How one in Krishna consciousness is equipoised because he accepts everything, happiness, distress, as Krishna's mercy.
Yeah. See, I have a question to all of you. If happiness comes, you all may say that good luck. I got a good luck, I'm very happy. How can you see distress as Krishna's mercy? Can anybody explain?
Well, according to, I would say that distress is not actually negative or bad thing. It is the result of our previous birth karmas, which has come to us so that we can have this one and we can, this bad karma will pass through us and it will be finished. So it is not stored. It is not stored for future use, or it is not stored with us that it will be stored for a long time. We have to do the bhog of this to finish this all.
Okay, good. That's a good point. That means it's due to my own karma I'm suffering. One can understand. Okay. And Jeet, what is your answer?
For me, I think the distress come as a Krishna mercy because of the distress we remember the God. In good
Very
times we can
good,
forget the
very
God.
good. Smart,
Yeah,
very good answer. Beautiful.
yeah, I
I
was
think,
gonna say that same
yeah,
thing. Like,
if distress can bring me closer to God, sometimes distress may be good. Otherwise, we become very proud and become forgetful. Yes, Dash, what was your answer?
yeah, I was going to say sometimes even Krishna, like right, the God will put us through that series of tests, right, to see
Yeah,
if we're actually a true devotee or just pretending to be one,
yeah,
right?
brilliant. That's true. So I can accept it as Krishna's test for me. Uh, he has given me sometimes some trouble for ultimately bringing me to the right path. Yeah. See, for example, uh, Sandeep is saying that maybe he is protecting even though it is distress now. Amazing thought it is. Huh? So yes, there may be distress, but he is still protecting us. One example I'll tell you, Prabhupada said, one devotee went running to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I was cutting vegetables in the kitchen for cooking for Krishna, and now my finger is slightly cut and it's bleeding now. I have put a bandage now. Huh? Why Krishna did this to me? I am cooking for him, and he is giving a cut in my finger. And Prabhupada laughed and said, your head was to be cut, he said. But Krishna only gave you a token punishment because you have become a devotee now. Huh? It's a small thing. Krishna has protected you. The devotee was amazed. Huh? Why Krishna didn't cut off his head? Because now this devotee has become already reformed. He's chanting Hare Krishna. And Krishna felt, what is the need for giving that heavy punishment? He gave only a token. Huh? That means what suffering comes in my life is only a token. Or like Sunit said, whatever comes in my life is my own karma. If I throw a ball on the wall, it will come back to me. So how can I blame anybody? Or if I bite my tongue with my tooth, I can't break the tooth because both tooth and tongue are mine. In the same manner, I only invited trouble due to my own wrong action. Like that, we can think like Sunit said. And we also heard Jeet also. Jeet said another interesting point. He said that sometimes sufferings are good for us because we become little careless in our spiritual life, get carried away. So Krishna reminds us. He gives a reminder by giving some suffering, he said. And also, Yash also was saying a similar point, very nice point. And then Sandeep said a very interesting point. Sometimes we may be thinking that, why am I suffering? But actually, even in that suffering also, Krishna is protecting us. I heard a story. Uh, Once a man was going in a ship, was stranded in a storm, and his small boat, it broke to pieces, and he had to swim and swim and swim. At last he reached an island. And he was alone in the island. There was no one. He was worried that some ferocious animals may come in the night. What to do? So he picked up some wood and leaves and everything and tried to make a straw hut with great difficulty the same day. And he was living inside that hut to protect himself. And next day when the sun came in the sky, so again he made the hut more sturdier, more stronger, very nice, made it proper. And he got some berries and roots to eat. He was wondering, will there any ship come my way and take me back to my city? Now I am stranded here alone, no one is here. So he was very worried. Maybe some tribals will come and attack me. He was always fearful. So within the next 2-3 days, one day he went to forest to collect some vegetables and fruits. When he was returning back in the evening, when it was about to, sun had set, it was a bit dark also. And he saw his whole hut was burning ablaze. And he cried loudly and shouted at God, oh God, why are you so cruel? This is the only safe place I had. You have burnt it down to ashes now. What is I think you want to see me dead. When he was shouting and yelling like this, one ship arrived there. And one man waved from the ship, come, come. So this man ran. And he was so happy. He boarded the ship. And he asked the fellows, Hare, when I was calling all ships going at a distance, nobody came because nobody could hear my voice. How did you guys come? They said, we saw a big fire and smoke in the sky coming from your hut. That's how we recognized that somebody is here. So we came, and then he boarded the ship. Then he understood, oh, thank God. I was yelling at you, but what you did was good for me. So in this way, a devotee of the Lord always thinks that God has some plan in whatever he does. It's ultimately good for me. So he takes it in a positive way, and that is the right attitude, actually. Because ultimately God is all good. Nothing bad can come from God ultimately. Whatever he does for anybody, it is for the good of the individual. So that is the nature of this Sthita Prajna. He never gets angry whether successful or not. He does not come under attachment or aversion. He is steady in determination. So, and then, he is able to control his senses according to his plan. Example of a tortoise is given, and the snake charmer is given. Tortoise withdraws its senses inside. Actually, this is, these are further verses. You see, in the brackets I have given 2.58. Here also is 2.58. It's coming, in 2.56 is Prabhupada writing in the purport. He is always daring and active and fixed on service of Lord. Look at the Hanuman. He was daring and active. He does not come under the attachment or aversion, never gets angry unnecessarily. He is steady in determination. Like here, the bottom, you can see the picture. This King Parikshit was cursed to die in 7 days, but he didn't lament. He went to the bank of the holy river Ganges, sat and heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami for 7 days and 7 nights, and then he went back to Godhead, perfected his life. He didn't get into psychosomatic depression or something, and he got the curse. Yeah. Now we are getting a bit later, I think. So let us see. This is which number slide? Let me see. This is... So we have finished up to 2.56. Well, we have finished. Oh, there are only 2 more slides. Can I take 5 more minutes and finish it? Is it all right for all of you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. This one and just 2 more slides. Yeah. Yeah, today is Ekadashi, also a very auspicious day. Yeah. So let us recite this sloka. Yas sarvatra visnehas tat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratisthita. She is saying, Yas sarvatra snehas tat prapya shubha ashubham na abhinandati nadveshti. These are the qualities explaining. But let us recite one more and then we will see the things. Yada samharate chayam kurmongani basarvashah indriyani indriyartebhyas tasya prajna pratisthita. Just like a tortoise withdraws its senses in dangers and then brings his senses out at other times. Similarly, a devotee of the Lord brings out the senses and engages them in Lord's service in the temple or in favorable environments. In unfavorable environments where Maya is prevalent, the devotee withdraws his senses like the tortoise, like that he is saying. Like here you see Sthita Prajna, man is fixed. How does he sit? And how is he situated in this world of senses and sense objects? He withdraws his senses like a tortoise, because senses are like venomous snake, should not be allowed to loosely and act independently. Because they have the poisonous tooth of enjoying mentality, which has to be eventually removed. And also, he deals with objects and senses in such a way like a tortoise. Yeah, so able to control the senses. And then Prabhupada says here, follow the do's and don'ts of the revealed scriptures. Best way to control senses is to engage in Krishna's service. By this, like a tortoise, you can engage in Lord's service and say yes to Krishna, no to Maya. Like that. So we have completed, but that one I didn't explain a little bit, this one. Yeah. Here, this one you can see. 2.58 here. 2 analogies Prabhupada writes in his purport. Self-control yogi. Yogi means one who is able to control senses according to his plan. That is test of a yogi. Yeah. They are a self-realized soul. Like a tortoise or like a snake charmer is able to control. Snake charmer is able to control the senses, which are like serpents or the senses. Similarly, the tortoise also, the devotee has the strength to withdraw from tempting environments and engage the senses in Krishna conscious environment. He never lets the senses loose, but controls the senses under do's and don'ts, just like snake controls a snake. So, in this way, this is also talking about the equanimity. Ya sarvatra anabhisnehas tatat prapya shubha shubham. Sometimes you may get good news, sometimes you may hear a bad news. Sometimes, so na abhinandati, when he hears the good news, he doesn't become too much delighted. Like Lord Rama was told, you're going to become the king. Not that he celebrated too much. Next day he was told, you have to go to forest for 14 years. He did not protest. No, I want to become king. He didn't say that. He agreed to that and he went to forest. So he had equanimity of mind. You have to cultivate that also. And because the world is not always a bed of roses. The world has ups and downs. There are challenges in this world. There will be success sometimes failure, sometimes profit, sometimes loss, sometimes pleasure, sometimes pain, sometimes something according to your liking, sometimes something not according to your liking. So the devotee of the Lord knows that Prabhupada says we have, danger must be there because we have put ourselves in a dangerous position, he says. The material world is actually not our original home. It is actually alien yoke. The spiritual world is our real home. There is no danger. Padam padam jati padam na tesham, he says. Spiritual world is a very joyful place where all living beings actually look at one another as their master, and they also are in a mood of seva, service to others, keeping Krishna in the center. And nobody is envious of anyone. Everybody is service spirited. Everybody, there's no cutthroat competition there. It is a world of live and let live. Whereas in the material world, it's a world of cutthroat competition, where all livings are envious of one another, quarrelsome, belligerent in attitude, and they fight with one another, pull the leg of others, and due to insecurities. It's a very dangerous world. So because we have left the original home and come here, we have to be prepared to face the challenges that we come in our life. But good news for you here. See, look at the picture, Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna has to face the challenges of the battle. But what is good news for him? He has got Krishna with him. And same is true for all of us. We are including Krishna in our life by chanting Hare Krishna and following the regulative principles and, understanding all these things. So in this way, we will get the inner strength to face the world. Yes, please go ahead.
Question. Your statement just reminded me. So does that mean in my previous birth, I might have been associated with Krishna, but was not completely 100%?
Exactly. You might have finished some percentage, surely. And only those who have done some percentage in the next life, they develop attraction very natural, like a magnet pulling iron nails. Like that Krishna says, he says that Purvabhyasayana teneva kriyatehi avashopisaha. He's saying, helplessly they are attracted towards God from the previous life activities. Like that he says. So we all will have that experience. When you met the Hare Krishna devotees, when you got a copy of the book, you read the book, you felt like going to temple, you took the japa beads and you chanted, or you liked the kirtan. Why these likings come? It is actually due to the previous life impressions that you're carrying with you.
Okay, yeah, definitely. That answers. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to Bhaktivedanta Manor in London later today.
Oh, very good. That's wonderful. That's a beautiful temple since Prabhupada's times. And
Yes.
there are many nice devotees there. So you are studying, yes, in London?
No. I'm just here for like a month because I'm running a marathon like next week in London. So I was like, if I'm here, I might as well go check out the manor.
You should. That's a beautiful temple. There's one temple in the city called Soho Street, another one in the outskirts called Bhaktivedanta Manor. You can surely go. Otherwise, you study in America or Europe?
Yes, Georgia only, Atlanta, Georgia, US.
Oh, right. Nice. You had a very good participation. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for answering all my questions.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.